I hope all of you are doing really well, and I hope all the other previous sessions was really interesting for you. So today we are going to step into the last topic in this chapter called controlling. Now, basically, we have completed most of the topics in this chapter, and I've told you already this is a very small chapter, but it is a very important chapter as well. So we cannot ignore things when it comes to small chapters. It's better for us to study things. So the last topic that we will be learning today is techniques of controlling and the relationship between planning and controlling. The thing that you need to understand is this is your mind map. I have put the entire mind map of the chapter. So last class we had studied about the controlling process, the limitations of controlling. We have also completed the meaning and features and importance of controlling. So the two topics that we have left out is the relationship between planning and controlling, which may come for a 2-marker or a 4-marker. And you can write it on your own words as well. Only the basic words are required for you, keywords. Now, techniques of managerial control will usually come for a practical oriented question. Nowadays, they are asking it as a practical oriented question, that is a 5-marker, or it may come as a 8-marker also. That is 4 marks will go for traditional techniques and 4 marks will go for modern techniques. Or it is better for you to learn all the meanings in this particular topic. So my take on this topic is going to be it's better for you to learn this topic. Reason because I have seen most of the question papers, these topics have been asked. Even if it's not asked for a 2-marker, it gets asked for 4 marks, or it gets asked for 5 marks as a practical oriented question, or it comes for 2 marks. So until now, they've not asked it as an 8-marker because it is a new question. So probably you can expect it this year in your question paper. Now, this is what we are going to be studying today, techniques of controlling. So this is where I was telling you, either this will come as a 4-marker. So I'll change the color of my highlighter. Okay, so this will come for a 4-marker. It may come for a 4-marker, or this may come for a 4-marker, or this entire thing will come for a 5-marker practical oriented question, or it may come for an 8-marker. Or if it is not coming for all these marks individually, it will be asked for 2 marks. That is, they may ask you what's return on investment, what's ratio analysis, what's PERT and CPM, then what's budgetary control, because I've seen most of the papers these questions are asked. So on the safer side, please learn this particular topic. It's very important. Now, there is an easy way for you to learn this topic. Now, let me tell you how exactly you're going to learn this topic and how you're going to connect it. Now, I've told you controlling, if you want to check your performance, that's your actual performance with your standard performance. I have told you really well, the standard performance is set by the organization. Let's come back to the example I've taught you. Our example is you have to complete how many emails a day? Yes, 100 emails a day. So if you have to complete 100 emails a day, which is our standard performance, which is set by the organization, you need to complete them. So one day you're doing 60, another day you're doing 70, 80, 90. I told you your actual performance will be minused from your standard performance. Now, in layman's term, in simple terms, I told you it gets minused, but they use different techniques to to check your performance, or to come into conclusion that this is how, let's say Ravi has got 80% over the last week, or let's say Karen has got, let's say, 100% over the last week, or Arun has got 90% over the last week through his performance. So what are the techniques they're using? So these traditional techniques are the techniques which they are using from age-old days. Age-old days means from very long time they've been using these types of techniques to evaluate performance in the organization. So what are they saying? These techniques are very old techniques, and these techniques are dead, obsolete techniques, but still certain organization use these techniques to calculate the performance of the employees. Now, modern techniques are the techniques which has evolved lately, and certain organizations have started using these techniques to calculate the performance of the employee when compared to the standards. So these are the modern techniques also. So here and there, these techniques will have advantages and disadvantages. It looks a lot, but you will only learn the key terminologies so that it is not very complicated for you. Now, coming down to the traditional techniques. Traditional techniques, remember, it is used by companies from a very long period of time. It is obsolete. Obsolete means what? These techniques are dead. Even if it is dead, but the companies are still using these techniques. They don't feel like letting go of these techniques. Now, what is the first one? Personal observation. What is it? Do you see a man holding a magnifying glass? What is he doing? He's observing the employee, how exactly the employee is doing the job. Okay, it's not that he's keeping really a magnifying glass. He's just observing the employee over a period of time and analyzing how the employee is doing his job. Next one is statistical reports. Statistical reports means based on the graphs, pie charts, all the statistical data, okay, the derivatives they will use to check your performance. Next, third one is break-even analysis. Break-even analysis is there is a formula for break-even analysis which they use to check the performance of the employee. And the last one is budgetary control. How are they, what was the budget that they set, what is the expected returns that they thought, and based on that, what is the employees results the employees provided. So that is these are the traditional techniques. Now coming down to the first one, personal observation. I've told you it's the most traditional method. Then who is observing whom? The manager is collecting first-hand information. That means he is observing the employee over a period of time. Okay, so what is happening? The employee is understanding that the manager is observing. So this creates a psychological pressure. What is it? Stress on the employees so that they perform really well. Okay. And what are the disadvantages of this technique? It is very time consuming because every employee is different from one employee is different from the other. So what happens? It is very time consuming for them to understand, okay, this employee is efficient and this employee is not efficient. I hope it is very easy for you with the terminologies that I have understood. Okay, sorry, with the terminologies I've underlined. So if you learn these terminologies, it's very easy for you to understand the topic. The second one is statistical analysis. Statistical analysis, you need to learn certain words. The words that is in yellow, only learn those words. That is, statistics means what? It refers to what? Ratios, average, percentages, correlations, etc. Okay, and these information, the present useful information of managers. So what are they doing with the help of this with the help of these percentage, ratios, formulas that they're using? They come into a conclusion and then they convert that into a graph or a pie chart or let's say a bar diagram. So all this is made. So when the, let's say, the big people, that's the top level management, comes for a flow visit, I told you in my last session we had a whiteboard where our statistics data would be put on. They would take a printout and we would put on it, and it would show red, green and amber. So depending on the statistical bar graph, the pie chart, the top level managements will understand that the team is doing good or bad. So that is what is called as statistical analysis. So what are you doing? You're presenting the performance of the team in form of charts, in the form of graph, in the form of table, so that when the managers, it's easy for the managers to read and it's easy for the managers to compare what is the standard performance and what is the actual performance of the employee. Look at the diagram here. So when you look at this bar diagram, what do you understand? That this green shows that it is doing good, probably one single day on Thursday. Then on Monday it is not doing very good, or it's picking up on Wednesday. So what exactly? It's easy for people to analyze and study. The third one is break-even analysis. Now what is this? This came for a 2-marker in your exam, final exam. Okay, when I went for paper corrections, this came for a 2-marker, and the words that they will check is 3 words. So please ensure you are studying this. Okay, what is it? It's the relationship between cost. Okay, now I'll teach you a very simple word. Cost is words. Cost means what? I'm spending 10 rupees to manufacture a product. Let's say I want to manufacture a candle. For me to manufacture a candle, I am buying raw materials. Now this raw materials I am buying is for 10 rupees. With this 10 rupees of cost what I am spending, what is the output I am getting, which is volume. The volume I'm under, how many candles am I able to manufacture? I'm able to manufacture 5 candles with 10 rupees. So 2 rupees for each candle. Now what is the profit I'm going to do? Now when I'm selling, I'm going to sell the candles for, let's say, 12 rupees. Okay, so how much is the profit I'm making? Let's say I'm making, the cost I've incurred is 2 rupees per candle. Then when I'm manufacturing, I manufactured 5 candles. When I'm selling, I'll sell it for 4 rupees. So 2 rupees extra profit is what I'm making. So what is break-even analysis? It helps you to determine what is your profit and what is your loss at different levels of activity. That means when I'm buying the raw materials, how much money I'm spending. Okay, how much money I'm incurring, how much money I'm losing. When I'm manufacturing the raw materials, how much money I've lost. When I'm selling, am I incurring a profit? So that can be calculated with this formula. So please ensure that you are learning this formula, because this formula is very, very important. Okay, so please ensure you're learning this particular topic for a 2-marker, because this particular topic is very, very important. Again, I am telling you. So please ensure you're learning this topic for a 2-marker. Next one. So this is the diagram which will help you to understand the meaning of whatever I told you better. And this, please ensure this is a formula which you are learning. Next one is budgetary control. Now what is budgetary control? All of you know budget means what? It is a financial statement, and it is nothing but it tells you for the future. It's a technique which helps you to measure what will happen in the future. Now before itself, for that what you're doing, you're putting a budget, you're putting a plan. Okay, budget, nothing it means, but it's a plan. So what are you doing? It is a technique of managerial control in which you are planning in advance what you want to do, and depending on what you want to do, like example, next year I want, let's say, 100% results. I don't even want one student of mine to fail. So if I'm putting a plan like that, for that I should ensure that I'm putting an estimation, like how exactly I'm going to make all the students, boys and girls, study, what technique I'm using. So what am I doing? I'm thinking about the future. Okay, that, so now when next year comes, when my girls have written their final exam, or when my boys have written the final exam, I will check whether I have whatever analysis I made, whatever controls I have made, have I matched it? So is the present matched with the future is what I'm going to check. That is what is called as budgetary control. But in an organization, what you would do, it's a technique of managerial control. Already all of you know, it's a traditional technique. Actual results are compared with budgetary standards. That means next year you want to earn 1 crore, means this year itself you will put a plan. So next year, when you're incurring a profit, you will check with your last year's plan whether you have earned 1 crore profit or whether you have earned little lesser than 1 crore. So what is it? It's a quantitative statement. It's a statement which is represented in lot of numbers, figures, which speaks about the future. And it also tells you the policies that an organization needs to follow, so that the organization is in the standards. Now what are the advantages of this budgetary control? Now I told you certain topics has a lot of advantages, but don't bother about it. What you would do is only learn the terminologies. If you learn the terminology, see, never they've asked you all these advantages and all that in this particular topic, but if it comes, you must be able to write it in your own words, just with the important terminologies. So what is it? It focuses on specific and time bound. That means it is either for the next year or it is either for later than 2 years, but you're structuring the budget now itself. You're planning it now itself. Then what? Based on whatever quantitative aspects you set, you're motivating the employees to achieve the standards. Then what? It refers to the maximum utilization of resources. I've already told you resources refers to 3 words, which refers to finance, raw materials, technology, and even refers to human resources. Then it helps to achieve coordination among different departments. Why? Because looking at the budget, what you are laid, you will give it to the different departments, and depending on that, the organization would work so that the future they would be able to achieve their targets. Next one, it facilitates management by exception by stressing on those operations which deviate. That means, what is this? This word is important. What does it mean? Certain things which is not in your control, external factors which is not in your control. You, depending on the budget, it is, you cannot control it. But what you can do, you can always set plans where you can try to control those kind of things which is not in your control. So what are they saying? Certain things which is exception, okay, and which you made, you don't know whether it will deviate or what, but you can ensure putting a budget in place. Those certain things which is not in control, at least 150% or 170%, you can bring it within your control. That is what they are. Now moving on to the modern techniques. I am sure you have understood the traditional techniques. If you have not understood, please let me know in your comment section. I would re-explain it to you, or listen to the video another time so that it's much more easy for you to understand it. I've tried to break it up maximum possible. Now what is this modern techniques? Modern techniques refers to the current techniques which is used in the MNC in organizations or in the early startup organizations by a lot of entrepreneurs. Now we have completed this. Okay, this is what we have completed. So what is personal observation? Checked by managers, takes a lot of time. Statistical reports is nothing but your percentage and your ratios and your graphs, everything. Break-even analysis, cost, profit, and your volume. Then budgetary control is what? Whatever is you're planning now for your future. Depending on that, you are ensuring that your actual performance is equal to your standard performance by motivating, you're working in coordination with different departments and pushing your employees. I've paraphrased the traditional techniques also. Now coming down to the modern techniques. These certain modern techniques will again be asked for 2 markers and 4 markers. Please ensure you're learning all the meanings of this particular topic called modern techniques, because many papers I've seen, these topics come for 2 markers or 1 markers, or they here and there they are asked. Okay, so please ensure you're studying this topic. Going into the first one, which is called as return on investment. Word itself is telling you whatever you're investing, depending on your investment, you want returns. Okay, so returns is nothing but you want profit on whatever you are investing. So if you are investing 1 lakh on, let's say, 1 land, after 2 to 3 years you want a profit of, let's say, 5 lakhs when you want to sell it. That's nothing but whatever investment you have, depending on your investment, you want profit. So what is return on investment? It is a technique which is used as a basic yardstick. Yardstick is nothing, is not yard which is used in the garden. It's nothing but it's a basic let's say a basic form which is being used to measure whatever money you will be earning on your investment. So see, for generating reasonable amount of returns. Now this is important. This is what you will be learning. This is your your formula. Net income divided by your sales. Net income means what? Whatever profits, small profits that you are earning every month or let's say every year, okay, through your sales, and that you are investing it into something, into buying something, or you want to buy machinery, or you want to buy anything. So depending on, you can't say machinery, but long-term investment. So depending on that, what returns you are getting. So what is it? Returns on investment is provides top management an effective means of control for measuring and comparing performance of different departments. So what are they doing? They are investing this money into different things so that they are able to measure the actual performance with the standard performance. Basically, actual performance refers to employees' performance. But here, these are nothing but techniques where, apart from measuring these employees' performance, they are also investing the money into different things so that whatever things they have not achieved, whatever standard performance they have not achieved, through these investments, they are able to achieve the standard performance of the organization or different departments. Next one is ratio analysis. Now, what is ratio analysis? It's a financial statement. which helps in the computation of ratios. Please remember, ratios refers to a lot of numbers, okay, numbers and let's say formulas. Now what are these ratios? Ratios are classified, just understand its first thing is it's a financial statement, and it helps in the computation nothing but calculations of ratios, which refers to numbers. Now you have four types of ratios here: liquidity ratio, solvency ratio, profitability ratio, and ratio. Now what is, again here, whatever words I've underlined, that is what you're going to learn. Liquidity ratio, it helps to analyze the current position of liquid funds. Liquid funds means immediately when the organization wants to make money, the minute they sell a treasury bill, or the minute they sell a commercial paper or a commercial bill, will they be able to get a money? Will they be able to raise money? How soon are they able to raise cash in hand? So that is how they calculate liquidity ratio. Now see, for your this level of studying, for your second PUC level of studying, don't get into very depth of studying all these kinds of things, because I told you most of these times they ask these for 2 markers, or for when combined it will come for a 4 marker or a 8 marker. So if you're going to write so much also, it is too much. So basically what you will learn is, learn only the important terminologies. So liquidity ratio means current position of liquid funds, how soon you can raise cash in hand, okay. That is through your stakeholders, shareholders, or through your people within the organization. Solvency ratios means what? It determines the long-term solvency of the business. Long-term solvency means in case the business wants to close, how much of money can you sell, or like let's say how many shares can you sell to get in a lot of money, okay. So that's basically solvency ratio. Profitability ratio helps to analyze the profitability of the business, whatever let's say through the sales or through the investments, through whatever means, how much money they're able to raise. Turnover ratio refers to the efficiency of operations, okay. That refers to your resources. Please remember, turnover ratio refers to utilization of resources. Through your resources, through employees working, through your finance, through your raw materials, how much money are you raising. So these are the four types of ratios. It will be very easy if you can only learn these words, okay, rather than the entire sentences. Now, the third one is responsibility accounting. What is responsibility accounting? It is nothing but every department, let's say team, has accounts that they have to prepare. Okay, that means how much money has to be spent by every, let's say every department, finance department, marketing department, sales department. So these departments and divisions are all put under one, let's say one team, or let's say one accounting head, which is called as a responsibility center. So what is happening? If I'm going to say this is the accounts department, they will be given a responsibility center of ABC. Okay. If I'm going to say finance department, they'll be given a responsibility center of DE. If I'm going to say a sales center or marketing center, they will be given an account, a responsibility code. Let's say they'll be all assigned different codes. So based on these codes, they will be they'll calculate the amount which they are earning and amount which they are spending. So what is happening here? The head of the center is responsible for achieving the target set for his center. So if the accounts department is telling we are going to receive so much of money, the head of that CEO, or let's say the president of that particular department, will ensure that they are able to achieve so much of money. The same thing goes with the HR team. If the HR team is saying we are going to recruit so many people, so much of expenses, there's so much of profits we'll bring in, means depending on that they will ensure that they're bringing those kind of profits. What is the next one? How is this responsibility centers divided? It is divided into cost center, revenue center, profit center, and investment center. Again, I'm telling you, don't stress on these things. Just learn the points, which keywords, more than enough. Don't go into depth. Cost center, it helps the manager. A cost or expense center is a segment of organization in which managers are held responsible. That means what? Everywhere here, manager is a word that you need to be remembering. Why? Because responsibility Accounting or responsibility center means every department or section is headed by a manager or a senior vice president or a president. So what is it? These are the people who will be responsible for every center. So cost center means it refers to how much they are spending. Okay, so manager is responsible of how much money he is spending. Okay, revenue center means how he is responsible of how much money he is incurring, let's say monthly, let's say once in 2 months, once in 3 months, through whatever sales he is making. Profit center means throughout the year how much profit will he incur, that is cost minus revenue. Again I'll repeat, cost center means how, if I want to manufacture 100 candles, what is the money I'm spending for the raw materials. For that I'm the manager, I should give account to. If I'm the revenue center manager, I will be held responsible for, let's say, marketing. I am going to sell the products. How much money am I making through selling of 100 candles? So that's called as revenue center. So I'm primarily responsible for generating revenue every single day or month through the sales I'm making. Profit refers to cost minus revenue or revenue minus cost. So that will be done once in 6 months or once a year. I will know how much organization is incurring profit. Now this profit, I will take it and I will invest it in something in proper form of asset, so that that profit is there, it is not getting spent unnecessarily. That is the meaning of investment. Now, what is management audit? Word itself tells you it's an audit which is helping you to efficiently and effectively check what is the performance of your future, or how is your company performing. Okay, these are ways for checking. Now please understand these traditional techniques are checked for the employees within the organization to check their performance. But modern techniques are techniques apart from checking employees. All this is also done so that the actual performance is not only employees, but the actual performance of the entire organization is met to the standard performance of the full organization. Okay, so what are they saying? It's not that we should only check the employees' performance. We should check everywhere money is being invested, money is coming in. Everywhere we need to check the performance so that we would know how the organization is performing. So what is management audit? It refers to the review of efficiency and effectiveness of the management, of how good the organization can perform. For that, a lot of systematic appraisals of the overall performance of management and the organization is done, basically auditing the management activities, how it is performed. So what is the advantages? Again, it locates the present potential deficiencies to performance. That's nothing but, this is the word that's more important to you. That is nothing but, you should ensure that you are achieving the management functions. Okay, for you to achieve the management functions, you have sufficient amount of money. You're achieving each and every, like example, planning means you're ensuring planning is done properly. Organizing means you should ensure that you're organizing your activities in the department or in your sections properly. You're not wasting a lot of resources. And the second one is you're monitoring your performance of your employees. Then again, you're improving coordination. If you see, these points are all repeated. Okay, then you're updating existing managerial policies. That means you're not sticking to old policies. You're ensuring to bring in a lot of new policies. Why? Because every month there is an audit check that is happening in the organization by external auditors. So when external auditors come into your organization and want to check whether you're maintaining proper records, they should ensure that your organization is ethically maintaining things. It should not be that they are not maintaining things and they're lying and they're doing a lot of wrong kind of activities. So this is the reason management audit is also very important, so that the standards of the organization is maintained. Then the second last one is PERT and CPM. Again, this will come for a 2-marker. It has come many times, several times. Please understand the full form abbreviation of it. PERT refers to Program Evaluation Review Techniques. CPM refers to Critical Path Methods. And simple terms, I will tell you how to remember it. Just remember, look at the diagram. Okay, Don't you think it's complicated? Both the diagrams are complicated. That is how you'll remember it. It's a technique used in planning and controlling of activities, and it is a network. Network means it is used from the planning. You know, you're learning about controlling chapter. So I've told you the first sentence in the introductory itself, that is not in this session, in the first session called controlling, that planning and controlling go hand in hand. When it starts with the planning function, it ends with the controlling function. So what? It is a network. From planning, it ends to controlling. So that is why these are techniques which is used to check how we can plan, how you can control, how you can, let's say, use staffing. All these are things which is being checked. In layman's term, all this is theoretical, but in practical thing, it is all related to a lot of formulas and numbers and graphs and whatnot. Okay, so these are techniques which is especially useful for planning, scheduling and implementing time bound projects involving performance of variety of complex, diverse and interrelated activities. So all those activities which is complex and very difficult to project or do, these kind of techniques are being used, and all these are modern techniques. We are not talking about traditional techniques. The next one is management information system. This is the last one, and again this is come for 1 marker and 2 markers. Please remember, management information system refers to your computer based information system. Okay, what does it provide? It is modern technique, so definitely it gives you effective managerial decision making through your computer based system. Okay, so how are they using this? It's a communication tool which will help the managers analyze how exactly data is being generated in the organization. So this is the advantages of this MIS tool. So how does it help? It supports planning and decision making in all levels. It helps to check the quality of the information which manager works. It's cost effective. It is a tool. Please tell yourself it is a tool. Tool means it's like a software which is being installed, and depending on the software, they will run a lot of these, let's say your Excel trackers and your Microsoft, all this, your job will be run through this particular tool that's on your computer, and depending on that, it would give you outputs. So there's no need for the manager to sit and check all these performance and details and planning and all. It would automatically check all these things for the manager. So the workload of the manager also gets reduced. So what are they saying? This kind of tool helps in decision making and planning. It improves the quality of information. Why? Because when managers do, they have a lot of work, so there's a lot of errors, and when team members also do, there's a lot of errors. But when this kind of tool will help to calculate things very effectively and efficiently, and it also reduces the information overload. That means it helps to reduce the burden of the manager. Now this topic, just go through it. Okay, it's never been asked, but it's always better if it gets asked. It's for you, it's for your better that you learn it. So what is the relationship between planning and controlling? First point, both are inseparable. Then second one is controlling helps to set standards and it helps to measure. That is, when you speak of controlling, you should speak of standard performance, you need to speak of actual performance, then you need to also speak of corrective measures. So if you look at this particular answer and if you look at the terminologies and words, all these words are there. So like see, in the third point, standards of performance which serve as a basis for controlling are provided by planning. Okay, so initially in standards, you plan only that 100 emails should be your standard performance, and through that controlling, you monitor the progress and you measure it. So you measure the difference between actual performance and standard performance, and you ensure that corrective measures are being taken. Otherwise, what happens? Planning goes incomplete without controlling, and it's an intellectual process of information and involving thinking, articulation. Why? Because the things that you plan, if you need to put it into action, you need to have a controlling standard where you can measure what you have planned. Otherwise, it goes meaningless. So What are they saying? Controlling, on the other hand, checks whether decisions have been translated into desired actions. So this is the last topic. You can just go through this topic, write it in your own words. If it comes for a 2-marker or a 4-marker, you can write an introduction, write a conclusion, and you can give a difference between planning and controlling with these terminologies of what I've told you. So coming down again to your techniques of controlling, we'll do a brush up. We have learned traditional techniques, we'll learn modern techniques, and I've told you each of these will come either for 2 markers, where you need to know the meanings. Wherever advantages are there, just learn the key important terminologies. That is most important, and that's very much necessary. It's more than enough. So again, we have completed the relationship between planning and controlling. We have completed the techniques of managerial control. Okay, and we have also completed all these topics. So I'm putting a check mark. So any doubt you have, please ensure you would let me know so that I can help you better. Okay, I've tried my level best to cover all these topics in this particular session. So please subscribe, please like, please ensure that whoever you want to support by them learning, you can pass it over, also pass on the video also, and please ensure that you are going to learn these topics, and it's very simple topics. So thank you so much. Stay blessed and do good.